Broads Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. Let's talk a little bird, shall we? There's 3 topics I want to hit on. Signing Edmunds, the Zeke hypothetical, even though I know it's not really going to happen. I want to share my thoughts. And number 3, Bijan Robinson and the obsession with wanting to draft him high in the draft. All right? Let's begin with acquiring a safety. 26 years old. 70-plus starts in his career. He's not going to grab a bunch of interceptions, so he will not do what C.J. Gardner-Johnson did. But he will be sound. He will make his tackles. He can give you some versatility with some matchups with tight ends, possibly with certain packages. Here's the thing. We don't know exactly what Desai is going to do, how he's going to operate, what his business is going to look like. But I do know that Edmunds is going to be a nice, solid structure player that won't be flashy. Okay, it's not going to be game-changing wow plays, but it will be important. It will be crucial. He played under Mike Tomlin for a long period of time. You're disciplined when that's the case, okay? You're not going to have that many starts when you're that young in the league if you weren't doing what you're supposed to do when Mike Tomlin is your head coach. So I like the move. Now, there's another way to look at it. This is now his 2nd straight year of signing a 1-year deal with this type of money. Broads, if he was something special or if he was something that was very solid, why wouldn't he have cashed in during free agency? Why wouldn't there be a team that was willing to give him a couple more years and a couple more dollars? Great question. We see the safety market, and we know that there's a lot happening that's confusing. If you told me C.J. Gardner-Johnson was going to get the deal that he got when he landed in Detroit, I would have said, you're crazy. Think about how many games he missed and think about how many interceptions he had. If he played the full season, he could have done even more. And he could have made a statement to the league with his stats with interceptions. If he had more time out there, he would have had more. But it is what it is. Sometimes it's about timing. And unfortunately for him, CJ that is, unfortunately for Edmunds, unfortunately for someone like Darius Slay, who probably would have liked to get more than what he got here, if we're being honest. When him and Howie and his agent elected to maybe go in a different direction and see what else is possibly out there by picking up the phone and seeing if there's a trade, maybe he could get a little more with an extension and see where the money goes. He probably thought that it's possible to get some more, but at his age, and at that position, it didn't seem like there was anyone who was going to budge. My point is, you could bring that side up, but I've seen him play under Mike Tomlin, and I know that considering you lost Marcus Epps and CJ, and right now you're flirting with a Reed Blankenship, an undrafted guy from last season who I think can hold the fort down. If you ask me, do I feel comfortable starting him? Not necessarily. If everything else is seriously strong, though, and everything else is really good, and that's your weakest link, I think you can get by there. But I think Edmunds is going to be a nice, good player for you. He's going to make the tackles he's supposed to make. You could put him in the box. And that's where his bread and butter has been made. So I'm fascinated to see how Desai utilizes him. But you're going to be able to help with the run. Maybe throw him in linebacker with certain packages. I read that on The Athletic as a possibility. I'm excited about Nakobe Dean. So that's going to be great to see him take a jump in his career, learning last season, watching this team thrive, being an important sponge on the sideline, soaking in a lot of information, watching others play, watching how to compete. Not that he didn't know. He played at Georgia, and he was a damn important piece to the puzzle. But he's going to step in hungry, because he probably thought, I can play. I'm being a good teammate here. I'm glad to be here in Philadelphia. I know I can go out there and do what TJ Edwards is doing. I know I can go out there and do what Kaiser White's doing. He's sitting on the sideline salivating because he wants to perform and he wants to prove it to everybody. Well, he's going to get his chance. And at times, Edmunds is going to be right by his side helping out. Jordan, David, they're going to be stopping the run. It's going to be difficult, especially with the trenches on the defensive side of the football, to go through this team. I like the move. It's a Howie Roseman move. It is typical. Young, cheap, with a little bit of experience. And I just want to make sure it's stressed that I value where he played. Mike Tomlin doesn't take any BS. And he started a lot of games. There's something to that. Because you know he doesn't mess around. Disciplined is the word that I really like to use. Because that's what it takes to play in Pittsburgh for that defense. And there's been a lot of people who covered him that said, when you watch Fitzpatrick play, he's able to do some of the things that he did because of how well Edmunds was. It's like in hockey. You chip a puck in the corner, someone wins a puck battle along the wall, which then turns into cycling the puck goes up high. You get a scoring chance because of a puck battle won maybe 8 seconds before the goal begins. Well, no one really remembers the stick lift and the body usage that allowed that pass to happen in the high slot to score. It's like grabbing a big, mean, grown man's rebound in an NBA game, which then leads to an important offensive possession. You think of the step-back three. You think of the alley-oop jam. Well, that doesn't happen without, some big man down low with his elbows going up and grabbing a huge board. Edmunds, to a degree, is doing things which then allowed someone else to pop off and to have the leisure to roam around and go be a ball hawk and go make a play. Here's the difference here, though, right? If we're going to look at all sides, they don't have Fitzpatrick. It's Reed Blankenship. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be beneficial. But yeah, it's not C.J. Gardner-Johnson next to Edmunds. Take that for what it is. I still think when it's all said and done, what you lost last year defensively, or what we thought we were losing heading into the offseason with your defense, and where we are right now, with the next step being we're starting to get a little bit closer to the draft and we're easing our way through, you're in a really good spot. Now you think about where they're going to add next. And, come on. I'll bet you $1 billion it's on the defensive line. For real. But yeah, tackles well, run support, not many interceptions. But at the end of the day, he's going to make it hard to play against. If you're going to beat him, you're going to have to earn it. And that's all I can ask. Be a motherfucker to play against. That's why we hated Jonathan Gannon, no? It was the complete opposite. I don't care if you lose, but make sure that, you're applying pressure. Stop playing like a little bitch. Edmunds is... Now, scheme matters here, right? Because if Edmunds was playing with Jonathan Gannon, we would see some things that we probably wouldn't like, and we'd get bothered by some things. Watching Darius Slay 50 yards off of a wide receiver, that's a Jonathan Gannon problem. So I don't know where Desai lies with this whole thing. The message I'm kind of hearing from the organization is we're still going to value similar traits. We're still going to value a very similar style. We want to win the turnover battle. We want to win the explosive play battle. So we don't want to give up a bunch. But there's many different ways to do it. Just because Gannon had his thoughts doesn't mean every DC is going to have the same thoughts. We do know the style of the game today. And we do know that Desai as a DC in Chicago, we kind of have some sort of broad idea. But I do believe that Edmunds is going to be sound. And that's the best way to kind of look at this. It's a Howie Roseman move. All right, let's take a quick break so I can tell you about my Knack bag. It's an everyday lifestyle bag, and it changed my life. It's my laptop bag with a fully padded interior to keep my electronics safe. It's a lifestyle travel backpack. It's patent pending, hidden expandable carry-on bag. It looks professional, it's stylish, and it adapts to your lifestyle. With Knack, there's no reason to choose between style and functionality because it's designed for professionals who need the function, and it has convenience with looking like a professional student. With its patent design, Knack is the first backpack that expands for more capacity when you need it. The sleek exterior, organized interior, and professional appearance help you look your best at the office or out in the world. Get a Knack bag today and stop worrying about how you look when you carry your life essentials. Check out the link down below in the description, and you can get a free TSA-approved lock with your purchase. Just add the TSA lock to your cart with your Knack bag of choice, and make sure, once again, you check the link down below. It is the greatest bag on the market. All right, the next part is the Zeke thing. Is this going to happen? No. They have Penny. They have Gainwell. They have Boston Scott. Maybe they look in the draft at some point. I don't know what exactly is going to happen because I don't know if Penny is going to last the entire season. They're not going to get Zeke, but let's have a little fun. Isn't this the time of the year where we can throw things at the dartboard and kind of have a little bit of some barroom conversation? You're sitting at the bar, you're crushing some Miller Lights, you're talking to the guy next to you because SportsCenter's playing some highlights and something happened that was crazy in the game. It's a SportsCenter top 10, so you nudge them a little bit, you start busting each other's stones a bit, whatever it is. That's what we're doing right here. If the Eagles could sign Zeke for a one-year deal that didn't cost them a bunch, Howie Roseman doesn't value putting a lot of money in that position. Let's just have an open mind. Let's just have a fun little talk. I'm in. I'm in! Don't say he doesn't have anything left in the tank. Yes, he does. He wasn't worth the money he got paid in Dallas. Tony Pollard was better than him. They forced him in a lot of different circumstances, but that wouldn't have been the case here. In a rotation, with this offensive line, with Jalen Hurts and his threats that he is, the legs, he's a machine. Think of the red zone. Think of short down distances. He had 876 yards last year. Not the best yards per attempt. Okay? It wasn't anything that was stellar. But if you put him in a rotation with this, I don't care about DeMarco Murray. I don't care about any other player that was once a Cowboy that shifted to a Philadelphia Eagles jersey. I don't care that there were some players that we once thought were going to be great, and then they ended up not being good. I don't care about the heartbreak in the past. If we could do it, I'm right here to sign on the dotted lines. I would love to do it. And it has nothing to do with mocking the Cowboys fans. It has nothing to do with the local ties, because I heard that. Broads, you're just saying that because you want to piss off some people who are local. You're just saying that because I'm sure you have some friends, and I'm sure you have some coworkers that at one point rooted for the Cowboys, and he had to deal with it every single day. That is true. I did. One of my old bosses, it was brutal. A Cowboys clock, a Cowboys this, a Cowboys that. I worked in a warehouse. When we went in the mornings, we lifted up the doors and bang, here's all the garbage Cowboy stuff that was shoved in my face. I despised it. And I still speak to him to this day. He texts me throughout the weeks when it's Cowboys week and he's talking his trash. It is what it is. I think he could help this football team. They won't do it. But I think it's silly to write it off just because of what team he played for. I said something similar when Fletcher Cox signed here. There's fear that Howie gets emotionally attached. There's fear that they make decisions based off of certain players. Because at one point they did, but I feel they're learning. Anyway, if you signed a defensive tackle after losing Hargrave and you were entering free agency and you wanted to beef up that middle, you lost Linval Joseph, you lose Sue. If you wanted to do something, and you brought in someone with 7 sacks in your interior after losing Hargrave and losing some other bodies, you wouldn't be mad about bringing that in. But because it's Fletcher Cox, it's, there's a certain type of way of feeling about it just because it's Fletch, and we watched him grow up here, and there was a time where he was more dominant. He's clearly on the back nine, although people are writing him off and saying he's got nothing left. He still does. But I saw that reaction. I thought it was too much, too intense. But really, Fletch, he stinks. He's not good anymore. That's not the case. And same thing right now with Zeke. You're not asking him to be that guy that he was in the earlier stages in his career. And in theory, he'd be able to do something in the passing game too. Now, Gainwell can. Not so much Penny. Last year, though, Zeke had a weird year in the passing game, only 17 receptions. And if you look at previous seasons, he had 47 receptions on 65 targets. He had 52 the year before that on 71 targets. He didn't even sniff 30 targets last season. So definitely different in that regard. But I always wondered, did Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen want to add another element all season long in the passing game from your running back? He'd help protect Jalen Hurts too, may I add. But Miles Sanders and his inability, I think that really costed him here. He was begging Howie, I want to stay here. Philadelphia, I love you. I want to be here. This is the team I want to play for. Well, his limitations, I think, really hurt that for him. And maybe, it was probably written in the stars anyway. I was going to say maybe his poor performance in the Super Bowl, but I think it was pretty known and clear that they weren't going to give him that type of dough. Because the running back position is just not worth it, which ties perfectly into the whole Bijan Robinson thing. Do you know how many times I've taken a call that said, we have to take Bijan at 10? He's a game-changing running back. No, we don't. No, we don't. Look, I would like Zeke, but if they don't get Zeke, I'm not crying about it. There's no running back that changes you to that level that you should value more at 10 than a defensive lineman, than an offensive lineman. Go get Carter. And that's where I think Howie's going to go. If he falls to 8, if he's in that 7 range, I think Howie's going to go up and make an explosive move at the NFL draft. And bang, here comes Carter. And he's going to be in the middle. And you'll have Carter, you'll have Jordan Davis, and that's what you're going to be building with, so you can now get the new version of Fletcher Cox. Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson. I grew up with those guys. My whole entire life, I'm 27 years old. All I know with the Philadelphia Eagles is Fletch. All I know is BG. That is way more valuable than a damn running back. Look at the history of this league and guys that get drafted high. Was Saquon Barkley worth it? Nope. Was Zeke worth it at that time? Nope. I'm talking about a 1-year deal super cheap just to add into the rotation. That's a totally different combo. Josh Jacobs, nope. It doesn't do anything for you. Derrick Henry, the guy's a force. He wrecks games. Worth it? Nope. It's not worth it. It's not worth it when you compare it to an alternative. It's not worth it when you talk about the trenches. This team has dominated when looking at DT, DE, and offensive linemen. Why in the world would they ever think it would be worth it? Their least looked at position. There's no such thing as a running back that should be valued that high ever. Christian McCaffrey, how did that work for the Carolina Panthers? So he moves to San Francisco. So what? So what? When Lane Johnson can shut down Bosa. It's irrelevant when you're looking at those other pieces that you snag at 10, that you snag in the first round, because there's other positions that deserve the focus. Now, every team has certain needs. Last year, it was Devontae Smith. But think about what Devontae Smith adds after you also have A.J. Brown, right? You make the trade, you get A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Running back isn't worth it. Don't say he's a can't miss. The production is inevitable. It's a running back. It doesn't matter. I'll take a stud in any other position. There's not one kicker. I don't even know. I'm just being honest. There's not one other position. Obviously, I'd rather have him than a kicker. You get my point, though. That's about it. That's how low on the list. It's crazy to me. They're not going to go cornerback anymore. They got their cornerback. This is what they do. This is how they build. It shouldn't be dissected anymore. I think we're finally getting an understanding. Howie was thrown in the basement with Chip Kelly. There were some question marks over the 2017 draft, and the 2018 draft was good. Dallas Goedert, Devontae Maddox, Josh Sweat, Jordan Mailata, Matt Pryor was in there, although not a part anymore of this thing. There was some confusion on what exactly Howie Roseman looks to do. I think it's pretty clear now. I don't know how much more we have to break it down. And you don't have to scream about Bijan. Bijan would be dumb at 10. 30, different story. I would actually maybe trade down at 30 to pick up more picks. But if you told me at 30, it's a different story. I don't think he gets there, but I can live with it. Don't know if I prefer it depending on what other talent is there and what other positions are available. But you could sell me. You can't sell me at 10. Gonzalez, Witherspoon, if they didn't land Slay and Bradbury, maybe. They're going to look for the future. Now, I've been on the record saying, I don't want them to draft someone who's not going to play, the Cam Jurgens of the world. Because at the time, they didn't make all these additions yet. So I was saying, you got to plug and play. You don't have the luxury anymore to sit back and have guys learn on the sidelines and have guys wait for their time. Are they thinking of a Lane Johnson replacement? And my argument would always be, you're so good at drafting linemen that why now? You could do that in 2 years. You extended them, you're going to get cute with all the money, yada, 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 free up some cap space. That's what a lot of these older vets do with Howie. They work together, they help out as much as possible, but they still get the respect that they're looking for and get the help as Jeffrey Lurie and Howie kind of give them what they're looking for, throughout the years. And guaranteed money and all that stuff. Now the roster's trying to look more complete. Safeties, not a lot of focus. Running back, not a lot of focus. They care, but they're going to use the draft to build within in the dirty areas. They're going to have guys like Edmunds, guys like Epps. And from there, this is when Howie gets creative. C.J. Gardner-Johnson came out of nowhere. Every year, there's going to be those style of players that you didn't know if they were going to be available. Jay Ajayi, that trade was big. So it's not as if there's not guys that he finds, because that definitely does happen. And it will. Maybe even at a position that you don't. Look, I just mentioned CJ. I just mentioned Jay Ajayi. That's safety and that's running back. Two of the positions I've been screaming at now for about 22 minutes that Howie doesn't care about. He'll get his ways. That's where he gets them, though. Kenneth Gainwell, late round pick. Sanders even going in the second round. It's like, all right. And I liked the pick at the time, and I think for what it's worth, there were some stressful years, and sometimes I would like him to get better, and then, of course, he couldn't stay healthy. But this season was finally one I could acknowledge that I enjoyed until the end in the final game when he wasn't crisp. This is how it's done. And I can support it because all we do is win. We compete for the NFC East. We're in the postseason. The ultimate goal is to win it. I'm with you. You're going to have that shot, though, because of Jalen Hurts. This kid is just a different customer. All right, some text messages and some questions. Troy says, what position do you think Howie drafts with the 10th pick? I believe he's going to draft a defensive lineman. I believe he's going to draft a defensive tackle. My gut tells me he's going to find a way to look right at Georgia and say thank you very much. And that would be ridiculous. That would be absurd. that's going to wreck games. That's going to be a difference-making guy. It comes with some baggage. He was racing, and something very unfortunate happened and very scary in real life, and it's sad, and it was dumb, and it was a bad decision. And unfortunately, racing does happen when you're young, and, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Howie Roseman thinks about that type of talent and thinks about that position. He's obsessed with it. And he should be. That's where I think he's going at number 10. Lawrence texts in, would you trade any of the first-round picks for more middle-round picks? Howie doesn't like to be thin during draft time. And if he does, will that scare you? I get nervous every year with him. There is something that we kind of throw around, the Howie-proof thing. A top 10 pick is Howie-proof. You start looking at 15, 16, 17, 18. Are you less Howie-proof? Sure, no doubt. Devontae Smith, you couldn't screw that up. Carter, I don't think you can screw up. If you trade down at all, yeah, it becomes less of a percentage to get hit no matter what GM you have, no matter what organization you are. So take away or remove the tag of Howie Roseman. A first-round pick in the top 10 compared to trading down and a second-round pick and a third-day pick and all that. So, of course, yeah, no doubt about it. You're going to lose a percentage of the player being a starter, lose a percentage of a guy getting a certain amount of snaps. Remember Kayvon Wallace? Oh, Clemson, safety, B-Dog. They're going to probably Reed Blankenship over Kayvon Wallace. Nowhere even close to what you wanted him to grow into. Later pick. Now, I'm not knocking him for not hitting on every fourth-round pick, fifth-round pick. There's a reason why a lot of these guys don't make it, and they're not all just outrageously beating up opponents. Do I see him trading down? Of course. Yes. Does it scare me? It depends on which one. If you go from 30 to early second round and you pick up another pick, no. The difference between the 30th pick in the first round and then a really high second round pick, that's not going to be enough for me to hit a certain fear level. I'm not going to break down and start crying and go, oh, no, I don't know how he's going to be able to do this now. That's sort of the same tier, sort of the same range. Going from 10 to 16, 10 to 15, 10 to 17, yeah, that's a little bit different, depending on the player that gets selected. If it's an offensive lineman, I'll feel okay because Jeff Stoutland. Because show me an offensive lineman who's a bum. I guess Andre Dillard. But if you want to do the track record, Jordan Mailata is a seventh-rounder hit. Landon Dickerson is so good. He's so good. So good. Cam Jurgens is going to be amazing. He's going to be amazing. I guarantee it. He gets to get slotted in the NFL and play between Lane and Jason Kelsey. Imagine that. What a nice way to ease into some things. So, yes, I can see. I think more 30th than 10, though, if Lawrence, you had to ask me which one he could trade down in the first round. And then Jerry says, is there any trust for Quez next season? Quez Watkins. Am I the only one who still thinks his speed can torch defenders over the top? I'm not trying to give up on him just yet, even though improvements for him are key. Yeah, I don't feel great about it. Heading into his career here in Philly, the knock was he couldn't run the route tree very well. He might just be a go guy. The problem is he needs to be opportunistic because A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, and so many other players hurts his legs. Devontae, A.J., all of the guys. You did lose Pascal. Can Quez be a Pascal role and someone else can be the third wide receiver? He seems to not be focused. And when you have such a limited role, knowing that you're going to get the ball a limited amount of time, it's just so bizarre to me to not be ready because you know you're only going to get the ball a couple of times. So when that's the case and it's a big game and you drop it, you lose concentration. The ball hits your fingertips. You stop running. I've seen that sometimes too. It seems like they're all controllables. Sometimes with players, you realize he doesn't have it. The speed's not there. The skill is not there. The separation's not there. He gets the separation, but it's controllables. I guess, at times the IQ of route running matters, and maybe that's where he's lacking, the IQ part of the route running. You're right, he is a burner. But that's the thing is, when he gets wide open, that's where he's losing it. And I think he can cash in. The ball's on the money, or he stops running. That's something that he should be able to fix, especially by now. I think we should have seen some more improvement. He had every chance last year to prove to Howie and prove to Nick Sirianni, I can be here. I know what you need me to do. I know what you ask. That's for me. That's my role. No one else's. Well, you might be standing on an island there because I don't trust it. You phrased it, Jerry. Is there any trust for Quez Watkins next season? Not much. No. What does he show me that I should feel that way? That's my answer to it. All right, everyone. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I'll catch you all on the next one.